Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. Today, we are going to be discussing chapters 12 and 13 of The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. We're starting part 2, wherein the king and all his buddies go on a hunt, and it doesn't exactly go to plan. So I'm Data, and with me this week is
Dak,
Jamie,
and Joe.
So hang on to something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin.
The blade, the spirits of the fallen faith, torn and degrade, my legacy and name, blend in the code, the father duty long bestowed, burdened by the shame. When order dies, there will be no pride in victory. When honor dies, I will be denied by history. I give my everything. Return the reckoning, glare of the ghost fills my eyes when honor dies.
So yeah, we got 2 additional chapters. We have 2 new viewpoint characters in these 2 chapters. And also, I'm sure you guys noticed, the epigraphs have changed a little bit from what we had been getting in part 1. So what did you guys think of these 2 chapters?
I mean, it's quite easy just to, going through my heart. A kaiju battle is a surefire way to do that. So as soon as we had a giant monster burst out of the ground and they're all fighting, and I'm just like, I was in my happy place when that was going on. For the chapters as a whole, I quite enjoyed meeting our new characters. I think it was Adolin.
Adolin, yeah.
Yeah, he seems interesting, but I really like Dalinar. I know, we met him once before while he was passed out on the floor. So what we see here was very much not what the picture I had in my head was going to be, but I like the character that we got. I think he's really interesting, so I look forward to more with him. And yeah, we've heard a lot about Sadeas previously in the book, so it's nice to meet him, even if he's a colossal dick. and this one random character just showed up for a page, did very little, and then walked off. But he intrigued me. This King's Wit fella.
Mm-hmm.
Something about him, he's blue-eyed, but he's not a bright-eyes. I'm just like, wait, what is he? Something about this guy grabbed my attention. I don't quite know why, but I'm just like, all right, I feel like you're going to be important. So we'll see how that goes.
I feel like the chapter, or that section of the chapter, is definitely designed to be like, hey, isn't this guy weird and interesting? Pay attention to him for a minute, and then he walks off before you get too much of him. So it's just I think it's designed to make, okay, I need to know more about this guy.
Yeah. So, yes, I would like to know more.
It's just a fun position. It's like, yeah, the king is too important to insult people, so he has a guy to do that for him. I'd take that job.
I mean, it seems like the king's jester without the tomfoolery around it.
Yeah, exactly.
I also like about the King's Wit, it's kind of like, oh no, I didn't say that. The King's Wit said that. It's kind of a little, if he said something that, you'd be mad at the king for saying, it's a nice little, I didn't say that.
It's true.
Yeah. So these 2 chapters, starting a new part, felt very much like starting a new book to me, with all the names and the people and the, oh my God, what the hell's going on? By the end of chapter 12, I was kind of like, well, not quite the end of chapter 12, but this is going on for a really long time. This is really dragging, and I'm kind of over these people already. And then we got a cool battle, which was really cool. Every time we started hearing more about this monster, the mental image changed, and so I definitely had more the just a big troll in the first thing, and then by the end it was this scorpion, crayfish, lobster thing that was around with way too many legs, and it was just kind of fun pulling that all together. And it was nice to see the shard blades and shard plates in action, and obviously the weaving of the characters and the storytelling that happened in chapter 12 kind of paid off, because I started to care about these people by the time they were in grave peril. So that was good. Yeah, now I'm kind of interested to see what happens next with them, but that's a fun pastime, having to hunt these things. I'm a bit worried about the king. I agree with Dak. I really like Dalinar. I think he's a very interesting and probably complicated character. It's like hearing from Adeline's view of what people think about him, and then hearing him in his own head, like what he's thinking through. It's like, actually, you seem to be a really good guy, and I don't know what's happening to you with your episodes, but I hope you're okay. I feel like he'll be a good character to watch.
I do like what you said. You're like, by the end of chapter 12, it's like, okay, I mean, all these internal monologues about various things, and Adelin's upset because people aren't being nice to his dad. I'm getting a little bit. But then it's like, oh, they're in danger, and because of that information, I now care about them. Okay, no, yeah, I get it now.
Yeah, it was like if I read those 2 chapters again, I'd probably be like, oh, okay, I get it. I think I just spent so much time trying to stitch together who was related to who, and then like how the princes work. And I was like, where are all these princes? Like if Sadius, where does he fall in? And then they kind of explained that the princedoms are a little bit different. So like, yeah, you've got some people that are actually related to each other, but I don't know how he's actually related. And I don't think he is now after what I've read. But yeah, I did start to care about them, and I think I'm starting to piece together the family tree a little bit better.
Yeah, it definitely, I mean, we're learning a whole new how this country works and royal line and stuff. So yeah, it takes a minute.
Yeah, and we know it's not a simple trilogy either. So
right.
Not that the others weren't complicated. It's just we know this is huge.
But also, too many legs is pretty much exactly the right description for this chasm fiend, where it's like 14 legs and then apparently like 4 giant crab claws to smash people with.
And then its tail.
Like, and the tail.
I'm surprised it only had one. That's there should have been too many tails also.
Oh man, if it was a lobster and it had multiple tails, that would be tasty.
I mean, delicious, but yeah.
Yeah.
I guess we don't know how these taste. They didn't mention cooking them up, so you feed a lot of people off that.
I was going to say, it's like there's got to be a lot of meat on that thing.
Yeah, you would think. Maybe it doesn't taste good after you've shard bladed it.
Gets the flavor right out of it, I like that moment when they realized, like, the troll was walking around and there was no bait on the rope, and you just knew with the characters. It was like, oh shit. It's like, yep, it's about to go down.
Yeah, perfect visual for you to know everything has gone horribly wrong.
Yeah, I like these chapters. I think I like this section because it's kind of like one bit, like we got a whole portion in one reading. It's like, okay, we get all this exposition background information, and then they fight a thing and they win, and you're like, okay, cool, got that whole piece. I will say I agree with Jamie, like there was a lot of inner monologue, and honestly, I like Dalinar a lot based on what we've know about him so far. Obviously, he had some major turning point in his priorities when his brother died, which makes complete sense.
That'll do it.
But I don't like his son Adelin almost at all. Like, obviously, Adelin's very duty bound and does his job and seems like a good dude, but I don't know. A lot of his internal monologue, it seemed really childish to me, and maybe that's like part of the development. He starts at this point and gets better, but yeah, like I'm not interested in Adeline a lot. Every time, like when the chapter first started and we were getting his perspective, I was like, man, I'd rather hear from Dalinar's perspective. And then we got Dalinar's perspective, and then we went back to Adeline's. I was like, why do we go back? But yeah, I thought it was good. I also enjoyed the wit. I have early predicament. I'll go ahead and just put it out there. I think the wit is Hoyd. Seems like he seemed really interesting, and like when anybody seems like vague enough that they're kind of like, yeah, he looks like this, but he doesn't really look like that. I'm always like, that's got to be like Hoyd or somebody.
Well, interesting you bring that up, because I thought could it be Hoyd? But then it's like, no, this dude's got black hair. Hoyd's always had white hair whenever we see him. So
yeah, but he can disguise himself. Who knows?
Yeah, all right, yeah, fair point. Hair dye is a thing.
Yeah, so like I was like, I bet it's Hoyd. And so that's who I think the wit could be. Seems like a good position for Hoyd to insult people. Seems like something he'd like to do.
I bet he could do that, yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah, this beast, cool fight. It reminded me a little bit of the White Sands fight at the beginning, except, there's lots of people fighting the creature as opposed to one person fighting the creature. These gem heart things, that's a whole interesting thing that I'd like to know more about. It's like the gem heart is inside the creature, but is that the only way to get gem hearts? Because I don't know, by the description, it almost sounded like the gem hearts might also be in like the giant like rock bits on the shard plains, and maybe that's what they're fighting over there. They're fighting over those gem hearts and those shard shard things, but maybe I'm wrong about that. And the creature just put me in mind of like there's the fiend in Final Fantasy X that you fight to draw out Sin on Mushroom Rock Road. That's what, like, in my head I saw a bigger version of that fiend that they were fighting, because it's got all the legs and it's got the giant pincer claws and it's it's creepy looking. So that's kind of what I envisioned. So Mushroom Rock Road fiend, or excuse me, during the fight. Check it out, Final Fantasy X, 2001. Great game.
Brandon plays that game. It's apparently a favorite of his. So,
when did this book come out?
This book came out, The Way of Kings. Hold on. Way of Kings came out in
2010.
2010. Yep.
I postulate he stole characteristics of the Chasm Fiend from Final Fantasy X.
He's just gonna steal wholesale from Final Fantasy X.
I mean, he changed it up a little bit.
Okay. That's okay. Yeah, I like this theory. Just shooting out early with the theory that I think we spotted Hoyd. There he is. I like it. Keep that going. We're gonna spot Hoyd everywhere. He needs to do like a Where's Waldo shirt, but with Hoyd.
I feel like that is a good plan, but it's like too few and far in between for it to be like a segment. Where's Hoyd? He's in this one chapter of the book. Oh, he's in this second.
Is Dalinar Hoyd? Maybe.
No way.
No like
way.
Hoyd is disguised himself as Yasna Colin.
Wow. That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
That would be kind of interesting. Like, Hoyd's running around. We have postulated that he's running around like gathering bits of like Cosmere power from different planets, from different shards. Like, if he was here to get shard plate and a sword, that'd be pretty crazy.
Yeah. Be walking around all knighted up.
Well, I mean, can you imagine like if he'd had those abilities before? Like, we see Dalinar in his shard plate, like a giant lobster claw coming for him, and he just fucking stops it.
Yep.
Like, can you imagine like Kelsier in the well if Hoyd had shard plate at that time, and Kelsier just tries to hit him, and like already Kelsier got his ass kicked, but Hoyd would have just caught his fist and just gone no and flicked him across the room.
Classic Hoyd, just dominating people physically, is what we would be saying if he had that. Okay, let's get into these chapters. The chapter 12 is called Unity, and we've mixed it up a little bit. We've got a new symbol in the middle, and we've also the little arch thing now has two faces instead of like one face repeated 4 times. So, ooh la la. And the new epigraph, it does not seem to any longer be people's dying words. This says, "Old friend, I hope this missive finds you well, though as you're now essentially immortal, I would guess that wellness on your part is something of a given." And that's the piece that we get of that.
My friend Hoyd, how dare you steal my powers and my sword?
We start with King Elokar, who's like, "It's a good day to slay a god, wouldn't you say?" And Sadeas is there smiling. He's like, "Oh yeah. As a rule, one might say that gods should fear the Alethi nobility. Most of us, at least."
Total fucking Jason Isaacs role right here.
It so is, right? Except for the fact that he's described as like red-faced and bulbous. Yeah.
I missed that part of his description. Okay. I'll reevaluate.
Yeah, we'll get there in a minute probably. Adolin is instantly grumpy about this and is like gripping his reins tightly. And his brother Renarin is like, "Man, do we have to be up here with them? I don't like the way you get when you're around Sadeas." There's 1,000 soldiers in Kholin blue. Servants, women in palanquins. This is a big party heading out onto the Shattered Plains for a hunt. Adolin has his own shard plate that he inherited on his 16th birthday, it says. 7 years ago. So that makes him 23. But I agree. I meant to mention when Joe said it, I agree that a lot of his internal monologue seems kind of immature, especially how much of it is given over to like dating drama.
Like a lot of dating drama.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And so this is the first time I think we get the perspective of somebody wearing shard plate, where it's like it increases your speed, your strength, your dexterity. He has to be careful not to crush his canteen when he pulls it out for a drink. And meanwhile, we have Sadeas and the king and Dalinar all here also wearing their shard plate. The final high prince on the hunt was Vama, who is not a shard bearer, so no plate for him. The king's shard plate is golden. Even Sadeas looked impressive when he wore his red plate, though his bulbous face and ruddy complexion weakened the effect. So yeah, there's that.
Yep, missed it. Oh well.
Adolin's is painted blue and has like some ornamentation welded onto it. He's like, I mean, you got to show off when you're wearing shard plate, except for his dad does not show off. His dad wears it in the normal slate gray color, and apparently it just looks very natural on him, as if he was like born to wear this, basically.
Well, I mean,
Not a hint.
That's your first like real like show that all right, Dalinar just does not give a fuck about looking pretty or appearances or anything like that. He is here to get the job done. He does not give a fuck.
I appreciate that in a character.
Yeah.
Not an attractive guy is Dalinar, apparently, at least according to Adolin. His nose is the wrong shape, whatever that means. I'm imagining like some weird Picasso shape. But he has the face of a warrior, and he's astride a massive black Rhyshadium stallion. So these really big horses, bigger than any of the other horses. And we find out later from Dalinar that it's like Harry Potter and the wands, where the Rhyshadium chooses who can ride it. And according to his son, Dalinar has the reputation as one of the greatest warriors and generals who have ever lived. So that's a big, bold statement. But at the same time, we find out that he is having visions during the high storm, or during the high storms. He's having what they then call episodes, where he falls to the floor and shakes and speaks in gibberish, or sometimes stands there and swings and flails his arms. And he's thinking that Adolin's like, my granddad suffered from delusions when he got old. Is that what's happening to Dalinar? Or is he seeing that terrible night over and over when his brother was murdered by the assassin in white? And why does he mention the Knight's Radiance so soon after his episodes? And so he's like, what am I supposed to do as a son when my dad, who's the greatest guy ever, starts to lose his mind? And then Sadeas is over here bragging to the king about the gem heart that he won a couple days ago. He's like, yeah, I'm good. Always out here winning these gem hearts.
So what I'm to gather from this is like these gem hearts are in the mounds that like the rest of the army is going to, like Kaladin and the bridge crew, like they're transporting the army to. Is that right?
That what we got from Kaladin's perspective was that they're out there fighting over something in these in the mounds. Hold on, I was trying to see if there was another word that they use. Kaladin has a whole thing about how the fighting doesn't make any sense. Yeah, he says it was something about those large chrysalises. They had gemstones at their hearts, apparently.
Yeah, so Kaladin's down there treating this like this is a horrific war, and then you got people like Sadeas up there just going, oh yeah, what a wonderful game finding this thing.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe the chrysalises are like larval or pupa versions of the chasm fiends.
We know chasm fiends apparently have these gems, so maybe that would make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it literally says chrysalis, so.
Yep.
So yeah, Sadeas is out here, and Kaladin is in Sadeas' army. So yeah, while Sadeas is bragging about it, Kaladin, to win this very gem heart, was probably out there getting shot at.
Sure.
And the king's like, oh, you're a model of courage lately, Sadeas. You've done well capturing gem hearts. You're to be commended. And Sadeas takes yet another chance to make a dig at some other people. The competition grows unexciting as some people don't seem interested in participating. I guess even the best weapons eventually grow dull. I mean, it does seem very like Lucius Malfoy, the snide comments. And Adolin would love to challenge him to a duel, but that's just not done. You don't duel high princes. And Renarin tries to distract him by like, oh, you should have brought like that one girl. And he's like, oh, well, after what happened with that other girl, it was a whole thing.
Sounds like the guy needs a calendar book based on what happened.
Right?
It's like,
yeah.
If you're going out with one, you shouldn't make plans with another the same day, bro.
Probably not. Then we cut to Dalinar, who is thinking in his mind, unite them. The words are whispering, and he can't get rid of them. And then the king's like, oh, man, are we there yet? Jeez. And Dalinar's like, another hour. If we had a vantage point, we could probably see the pavilion. And the king's like, wait, vantage? Hey, there's a big rock up there. Race you to it. And Dalinar's like, damn it. And he has to chase after him because you can't let the king just run off by himself.
Yeah. This king, like, he's like a golden retriever. He's just like,
he's even
bone?
golden.
Yeah. It's like, bone? Yeah, let's go. Okay, get the bone. Sure. Hey, race me to the bone. Okay, cool.
But on the other hand, Dalinar does have some fun with the race. He's like, it does feel good to like run and have some fun.
Yeah, they keep using this word in this part where he's doing it called thrill, but thrills in caps.
Yep.
And I assume you're not gonna tell us what that's about, but it's I'm like, hey, what's that about?
It's a thing. We might learn more about it. Who knows? This is where we find out that it's like Elhokar Stallion is good, but he can't match Gallant, who was full Rhyshadium, 2 hands taller and much stronger than an ordinary horse. The animals chose their own riders. Only a dozen men in all the war camps were so fortunate. And Dalinar and Adolin are 2 of those. So they get to the rock formation, and they jump and start climbing. They race each other to the top. And Elhokar takes some, risky moves to try to beat Dalinar. And Dalinar still almost takes him. The thrill, as Joe pointed out, sang at him. He reached for the goal, but then he hears those words, unite them, and he hesitates. And Elhokar wins, and Elhokar is very proud of himself. So proud that, like, glory spren, tiny golden translucent globes of light pop into existence around him, attracted by his sense of accomplishment. And then Dalinar feels good about, like, not winning, and because Elhokar is feeling so good about winning. He's like, oh, yeah. Down below, the Cobalt Guard, which is, I think, a cool name, the Cobalt Guard. And other people, including Sadeas, come up. And that's where we find out Sadeas has plate, but not a blade, so he's not a full shard bearer. And they can see where they're going. And Elhokar's like, oh, come on. We can get up there really quick. And he's like, it would kind of defeat the point of all of me bringing 1,000 soldiers if you just ran off and left them behind. And we also find out that Elhokar is a little, he doesn't seem worried about anything out here. He is very worried about assassins back home or back at the war camp. He's scared at night, which maybe is fair since his father was assassinated. But, yeah. And we also see Dalinar feeling just real bad about what happened that night, which, probably deserved when your brother dies while you're so drunk that you're passed out on the floor. He thinks about his vision a little bit because this view up here reminds him of the first vision. You must unite them. You must prepare. Build of your people a fortress of strength and peace, a wall to resist the winds.
If you build it, they will come.
And he's trying to figure out a way to convince Elhokar to do what he thinks they should do. But he's like, how do I say it? I can't tell him. I've been having weird mystical visions. Like, I think the visions might be from the Almighty, but I don't know. And then we cut back to Adolin, who is thinking about these 2 women, Rilla and Janala.
Yeah, now we get back to the important part of the story.
Janala loved ancient epic poems. Maybe he could phrase the falling out in dramatic terms and win some.
Can you imagine?
Oh,
she's like, yeah, maybe if you explain it to me like Beowulf, I'll be okay with it. Makes no sense.
I made a poem about our breakup.
Yeah. Who is this Janala? Amy Farrah Fowler? What the hell is he talking about?
But Adolin is efficient in his because Dalinar left him in charge, and he's taking reports. He's making troop movement orders, and he seems to be good at what he's doing. Elhokar jumps down off the rock, and Adolin's like, jeez. Like, shard plate can hold up against that, but it's really reckless to do it. And Adolin's annoyed at some of the other people riding with them that they get to wear comfortable riding silks and open-fronted jackets and sit in shade-covered palanquins while he has to wear his armor. He's like, I'm not allowed to wear casual clothing. I have to be in uniform. The Alethi war codes command it. Despite the fact that nobody actually cares about the codes except for Dalinar Kholin, but what can you do? And then there's some lounging light eyes, Sadeas's hangers-on, it says, who start making insulting comments about Dalinar and his kids, just loud enough so that Adolin can hear. And he's pissed off, but the codes won't let him challenge a man to a duel while he's on duty or in command. We find out a little bit about the government here. The Alethi princedoms were kind of like kingdoms unto themselves, still mostly autonomous despite having accepted Gavilar as their king.
Sounds like very, very fiefdom.
Yeah. Well, it kind of reminds me, I think, a little bit of like the U.S. under the Articles of Confederation, where it's like, yeah, we're kind of a country, but we're mostly our own things.
Right.
And because of that, and because the king doesn't officially have any land that he's over, Elhokar kind of still takes over the Kholin princedom stuff, while Dalinar technically should have been his own, basically, little ruler. He defers to Elhokar. He hasn't been going on plateau assaults. He's lagging behind in the capture of precious gem hearts. My precious.
Lug nuts. Precious lug nuts.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't know any robot who would decline what is it, like a
hot resin?
Like it's like a hot batch of resin or a hot squirt of resin or something like that.
What sort of robot turns down a blast of searing hot resin?
Yeah, a blast of searing hot resin. Perfect.
And he and Sadeas kind of make some eyes at each other. Sadeas really wants a blade, but Adam's like, anytime you want to duel me, let's go.
Bring it, bitch.
And I love that Adolin tries to make his report. Your Majesty, I have the scout reports. And the king sighs. He's like, more of nothing, I expect. Must we have a report on every little detail of the army? Like, that's some good kinging there, my man. So Renarin, Aelin's brother, is 19 years old. He wears a sword at his side, but does not know how to use it. His blood weakness made it difficult for him to spend any amount of time practicing. In a very warlike society, that probably doesn't go over well.
It sounds like he won't be trained to take over.
Yeah, it does sound that way. Well, and I do like, Adolin's not really looking forward to the hunt that much. Dalinar's like, taking down a great shell was the highlight of a young man's year when I was a kid. And Adolin's like, more stories about when you were a kid. I don't care. Or when you were young, whatever. It's just an oversized chull, father, which may explain why Dak, or rather, I think Jamie was just like, I was picturing it as a big chull, but not quite. These oversized chulls grow to 50 feet tall and are capable of crushing even a man in shard plate. But apparently the way you normally hunt them... Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was about to say something, and as I unmuted, I got hit in the head with a broom, and I've forgotten. Never mind. That was that. Oh, sorry. Still a 50-foot high chull is still pretty terrifying. Like,
Yeah, right.
they're just oversized chulls. Yeah, okay, cool. That's still awful.
You okay?
Seriously.
Yeah, I'm okay. It's fine. It was just terrible timing. Yeah. It's all right. As you were, carry on.
Adolin's not impressed by the way that the hunt is supposed to go, where you bait it for hours while you sit out in the sun, and then you shoot a bunch of arrows at it until it's so weak it can barely resist, and then you go in with shard blades and cut it up. He's like, yeah, very honorable. And Dalinar's like, I mean, yeah, it can be tedious, but the king was insistent. And Renarin jumps in. You're just upset about the problems with Rilla. You were eager about this a week ago. You should have invited Janala. And Dalinar's like, wait, Janala? Who's that? Are you courting her? He's like, no, I've been trying. What happened to the other one? The one with like the silver ribbons? Father, I stopped courting her over 2 months back. There have been 2 between her and Janala. You really need to pay more attention.
Okay. Give the guy a break. 2 months. You shouldn't have dated 4 women in 2 months. Like,
Yeah. Also, he's your dad. Why does he care who you're courting?
yeah.
Oh yeah, Dad. It's like you're looking out for the king's mental health. Well, start paying attention to the girls I bring home. No, I'm good.
It might be relevant if Adolin is like the heir to the princedom who he is gonna marry.
Well, then just have an arranged marriage like a normal human being.
That's what normal human beings do. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Or alternatively, stop bringing home a different girl every week, and he might be able to keep up.
Right? That's the thing. And Adolin tries to change the subject away from his love life to be like, isn't it weird the king insisted on coming out? No, I mean, it isn't often a full-sized chasm fiend makes its way out here. And the king rarely gets to go on plateau runs, so this is a way for him to fight. And he has to explain, like, he's a complex guy. He worries that people see him as a coward because he's afraid of assassins, so he tries to find ways to prove how courageous he is. Foolish ways, maybe, but not the first man I've known who will face battle without fear but cower in terror about knives in the shadows. The hallmark of insecurity is bravado, which I like that line. That's a good one.
And yep, it's pretty incisive.
Yep, 100% accurate. And he's like, that's why I encouraged him to do this. A successful hunt under controlled circumstances will bolster his reputation and his confidence. So Adolin's like, oh, okay, yeah, when my dad explains all that, it makes perfect sense. Can't they, like, why do people talk about him being a coward? Can't they see how wise he is? Apparently, you probably spend more time with him than any of them, and you didn't until just now, so, you know. And then Dalinar's like, if only I could figure out how to convince him to leave the Shattered Plains. And Adolin's like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, I'm supposed to unite them, but I'm beginning to see we're united only in name. The High Princes give lip service to Elhokar, but this war, this siege, is a game to them, a competition against one another. We can't unite them here. We need to return to Alethkar and stabilize our homeland. The others worry too much about winning wealth and prestige. And Adolin's like, wealth and prestige are what being a Lethi is all about. Like, that's what we do.
Yeah, we're wealthy, Dad. Come on.
And Dalinar's like, look, I love my brother, but his life's work was to unite Alethkar. I'll go to damnation before I let it break apart. So, you know, I'm trying to, if we have to give up avenging him to save what he worked his whole life for, then it's not really a choice. And Adolin wants to argue that, well, okay, if we're doing something wrong, if you think they're playing games, then let's change the attack. Let's actually attack them instead of besieging them. Instead of withdrawing, let's win. And Dalinar's like, yeah, maybe. But I like that Dalinar is willing to hear these other opinions. And he's like, okay, I'll think about that. And when Adolin tries to push it, he's like, no, you made your point. I replied to it. I'll think about it. Now let's move on to other stuff. Like it's a good way for a superior to behave. And Adolin is thinking that his father started changing that night when his brother died. Adolin would never forgive the Parshendi for bringing his father such pain. I guess, screw them murdering my uncle. It's really about my dad. Maybe if they beat the Parshendi, his dad would go back to the man he had been. And we find out that Dalinar and Sadeas used to be friends that had also changed the night of Gavilar's death. What had happened? And then a dude shows up that we talked about before. Here comes Wit. And Adolin is excited to see him. So he is tall and thin, wears a stiff black coat and trousers matching his deep onyx hair. He had a thin sword tied to his waist, but Adolin had never known him to draw it. He had blue eyes, but he wasn't really a light eyes or a dark eyes. He was just the king's wit. And he's immediately like, Prince Adolin, you managed to pry yourself away from the camp's young women long enough to join the hunt. I'm impressed. And then Adolin has to admit, I made a lunch appointment with a woman yesterday, but I was courting a different woman, and she's the jealous type, so now neither one will speak to me.
Good, you can cut your address book down a bit.
Yeah, there you go. Just move on to number 5 in the last 2 months. It's fine. So the king's wit, he's not a silly court fool. He used a sword, a tool maintained by the king, since insulting others was beyond the dignity of the king. Just as one used gloves when forced to handle something vile, the king has a wit, so he didn't have to debase himself to the level of rudeness or offensiveness. And this guy's been here for a few months, and he's different.
The king has advised me to respond to your missive with your mother.
And Dalinar greets Wit, and Wit greets Renarin, who doesn't say anything. And Adolin's like, he thinks you'll mock him if he speaks to you. He told me he decided not to say anything around you. And Wit's like, oh, that's great, so I can just say whatever I want? Hey, did I tell you about the other night when Renarin and I were walking back from camp and we met these 2 sisters? And Renarin's like, that's a lie. He's like, okay, fine. There were really 3 sisters, but Renarin quite unfairly ended up with 2 of them, and I didn't want to diminish my reputation. So. And then Dalinar's like, Wit, maybe restrict your mockery to those who deserve it. And Wit's like, that's what I was doing. And then he whispers to Dalinar as he's leaving, those who deserve my mockery are those who can benefit from it. That one is less fragile than you think him. And Adolin's like, man, I like that guy. Best wit we've had in ages.
It's a constantly changing position. Do they always just piss off someone so much that the wits keep getting killed?
Right? Yeah, it's like that's like what happened to court jesters, right? They once they make the king annoyed enough or mad enough, they just get killed.
Is that what happened? I thought the king's just that was the point of the jester, and the king's just like, who gives a shit what he says? He's just the jester.
Maybe.
And Wit goes off to make fun of some other people who laugh and have a good time with him. And we find the huntmaster Bashan, who says, yeah, we're using hog carcasses as bait, and we've been pouring hog's blood over the sides. So yeah, he'll show up here pretty quick. He's got his nest nearby for certain. He's not here to pupate. He's too big for that. Once he's here, we'll loose the wild hogs as a distraction, and you can start shooting with arrows. They have grand bows, which are bows so huge that only a shard bearer can use them, firing shafts as thick as 3 fingers. So that's a big old arrow shaft. The engineers had created them. Each one requires a small infused gemstone to maintain the strength of its pull without warping the metal. Adolin's aunt Navani, the widow of King Gavilar and mother of Elhokar and Yasna, had led the research to develop the bows. So I guess Yasna's not the only bright one in this family.
I hope we meet Yasna's mum at some point. She sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, she sounds like an engineer or a scientist. I appreciate those.
Well, it's an unusual position for a queen to be in, so that's cool. I like it.
And that Adolin's like, man, I wish Navani was here. Things are never boring around her. So he wants her around too. Shard blades and shard plate are relics from another time when the Radiance had walked Roshar. No amount of fabrial science had ever approached recreating them. And Dalinar's comment that Gavilar always wanted to slay one of these chasm fiends. He loved great shell hunts, but he never got one of these. Odd that I've now killed so many. Chasm fiends, well, you're used to attacking them in their chrysalises. Don't forget how mean they are when they're not pupating. And then one of the chulls starts running off, and the huntmaster's like, dang, that stupid animal. The man who trained it must have been daft. It's been doing this all day. And that's when Dalinar's like, shouldn't there be bait at the end of that rope? And then something starts coming out of the dark, something mind-numbingly enormous, rose out of the chasm on thick, chitinous legs, coming onto not the plateau where the hunt was supposed to take place, but the viewing plateau where they currently are, along with all of the unarmed guests, female scribes, and unprepared soldiers. And Bastion's like, ah, damnation. And that's the end of our chapter. And then chapter 13 is 10 heartbeats. We get another little epigraph. I realize that you're probably still angry. That is pleasant to know. Much as your perpetual health, I have come to rely upon your dissatisfaction with me. It is one of the Cosmere's great constants, I should think. So, I don't know. What do you guys think of these two new style of epigraphs?
They're interesting, but I was like, I need to know who they're addressed to and when they're being written. That always seems to trip us up.
Mm-hmm. There's immortality being talked about, the Cosmere at large being talked about. Definitely interesting. I mean, if I had to throw in a guess right this second, I would say Hoyd, only because he's already been brought up, but I don't know.
Like, you mean like Hoyd wrote this or Hoyd's receiving these?
I think he wrote them.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, that's fair.
Sounds like someone would be pissed off at Hoyd for something.
Right, I can see it.
Hoyd simultaneously has the most enemies and the least amount of fucks to give about it.
It's true. I mean, we already know that he and Kelsier don't get along, so.
Regardless of whether or not they're associated with Kelsier, he's got a band of other guys searching for him. Yep. Presumably that's not to catch up and reminisce.
Yeah, no, they're just looking for their old pal. It's fine. I mean, if you're right and he is the wit, then he's probably got a lot of enemies from all the insults that he's been throwing at. So 10 heartbeats is how long it takes to summon a shard blade. So if you're relaxed, it takes longer. If you're on the battlefield and revved up, it happens faster. And the Chasm Fiend starts slamming its arms down, destroys a bridge that was filled with attendants and soldiers, and people plunge screaming to their deaths in the chasm. The Chasm Fiend towered like a mountain of interlocking carapace and the color of dark violet ink. So it's like a purple giant crab monster. And he says, Dalinar could see why the Parshendi called these things gods, which there's your explanation for how the last chapter started, where it's like, what a good day it is to kill a god, which was never explained until we get here, where it's like, oh, the Parshendi call these gods. All right. While it was vaguely crustacean, it was not a bulky, placid chull. It had 4 wicked foreclaws set into broad shoulders, each claw the size of a horse, and a dozen smaller legs. And it grabs up a chull and pops it into its mouth, while Elhokar is yelling for the archers to start firing, and Dalinar says, distract it from the unarmed. Like, it just, like, pops the shell in its mouth and cracks the shell, and, like, pieces of shell falling to the ground as it, like, chews on it. Dalinar makes a running leap and sails 5 yards. So, yeah, the shard plate really gives you some added strength. And the Chasm Fiend gives a screeching sound. It says it trumpeted with 4 voices overlapping one another, which that's a weird sound. And here comes Dalinar's Shardblade Oathbringer. It coalesces from mist on the 10th beat of his heart, 6 feet long. So as we established earlier, taller than Dak is, taller than any of us are, actually.
I'll admit, like, the name, I'm just like, wait, have we heard that before? Did that come up before? And turns out, no, that's the name of a later book.
Yep, that's the name of book 3.
Yep. I realized when I looked at the shelf, I'm like, oh, okay, there it is.
It says that he bonded to the blade when he was 20. It's long and slightly curved, a handspan wide, with a curve at the tip like a fisherman's hook. So a big old 6-foot-long sword with a mean hook at the end.
Sure, just like Titus's Brotherhood. I got it. He likes Final Fantasy X. I get it now.
That's a fair point.
I was thinking like jet swords in Avatar.
Oh, he has like hook swords, like the guy from Mortal Kombat. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean those are legitimately, they're called hook swords. They're just swords used in like Chinese folklore, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
Well, like there's a heavy Asian inspiration behind a lot of this book, so that makes sense.
Here's some. I'm gonna pop into our chat a picture of like what Dalinar and Elhokar's swords look like, so you can get an idea. Because then we see Elhokar also with his blade Sunraiser.
They're really quite different, aren't they?
They really are, yeah.
And that fish hook is not as pronounced as I would have expected based on the description.
Yeah, I've seen different pictures, and the hook is like more pronounced in some than others, but
because that's even the back of the blade, and that's not how I envision it when they're talking about it. When they're talking about it, it seems like that would be the other. It would be on the other side of the blade. Interesting.
I hadn't thought of that. All the pictures I see, it's on the back end of the blade is the hook.
Yeah, but I don't think it's described that way.
It just says it curved at the tip like a fisherman's hook, so it doesn't really say that it goes one way or another.
I just would imagine that if you're going to have a curve on the tip like a fisherman's hook, it would be more than an affectation. It would be like it would be a part of the sword that would be usable.
Oh, I'd forgotten that they make Badali Jewelry makes a necklace version of this that has like Brandon's official design seal of approval, basically. So I guess let me see if I can copy that picture, and you can see it's pretty close though. Also, I apparently can't copy this picture, so there we go. If I can find the right window.
That's cool.
So, yeah, Oathbringer. I actually have a piece of a Stormlight piece of jewelry that Badali makes, but it's not one of them. They make a couple different sword necklaces. I have a pendant with the 10 heralds on it. Okay, so sorry, back to this. Elhokar bellows, "Make it angry," as he summons his sword, and then they move in. And here comes Adolin on his horse. Also, he's armored up. He has a sword. He's going to go in and help as well. And Sadeas is calling for his grand bow because he does not have a shard blade, but he has shard plate, so he can use these giant bows. And Dalinar calls to Elhokar, "You hold back, Your Majesty. Adolin and I will weaken it." And I like the description. Like, he lowers the visor on his helmet, and it mists, locking it into place. And he can see, like, the sides of the helmet are translucent, so he can kind of see out. It says it's like looking through dirty glass, basically, but it's a big advantage over armor where all you can see is like through the eye slit. And so you got archers shooting at this giant crab monster, but the arrows are like the ones that don't hit are falling down and like hitting Dalinar underneath it, which is not so bad when it's he's got his armor on, but he doesn't want to take one in the eye slit by accident. So Adolin goes left, Dalinar goes right, and they start slashing through the Chasm Fiend's legs, because the blade doesn't cut through living flesh, as we established, but it does kill the leg if you cut through it, so that it falls numb and useless. And the monster does not like that. The monster was long and narrow like a crayfish and had a flattened tail, and it walked on 14 legs. How many could it lose before collapsing? And while they're trying to weave in and out and take out these legs one at a time, Elhokar's like, "Meet your enemy, monster," and rides straight in like a maniac and just goes straight for the front of it. Dalinar's like, "You're supposed to go for the legs," and Elhokar ignores that completely. And then he goes like, "I'm distracting you, you fool, keep attacking." And Dalinar's like, "Well, I have the faster, stronger horse. I should distract it," but Elhokar does not care. And so now the creature has attacks coming from every side. It's got a guy in front of it. It's got guys on either side chopping its legs. It's got arrows flying in. It's getting kind of annoyed. They take out 5 legs, and then Elhokar's saddle girth snaps, and he falls to the ground off his horse, loses hold of his shard blade, which reverts to mist, vanishing, a protection to keep your blade from being taken by your enemies. They vanished unless you willed them to stay when you released them. So that's good to know. And the creature's about to smash a claw down on the king when a giant arrow slams into its head, purple gore spurting free. Sadeas has gotten that bow, and he's starting to shoot giant arrows.
I mean, as much as this guy is just a slimy piece of shit, it's nice to know, like, he's not just also a useless slimy piece of shit. He can fight as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he came in handy here. And Dalinar even thinks, like, we're not friends. We don't like each other, but we both agree that we're going to protect the king. So that's something in Sadeas' favor.
Yeah.
Not that I think we're supposed to love the king all that much at this point, but still, loyalty is a good thing.
King is complicated. I don't dislike him, but
yeah. So now the monster is so pissed off that it kind of gets like an extra burst of energy. It says it had been a little bit sluggish, and now that vanishes as it like screams, angry, wild, crazed. At this point, it would follow them until it either killed them or was slain. So they keep chopping legs. 7 down, half of its legs, and it's still standing. Elhokar stands back up. "Are you a god?" Someone asks you if you're a god. You say yes.
You say yes.
Aim for the flat top.
That's the advice they should have given Elhokar. No. "I defy you, creature. I claim your life. They will see their gods crushed just as they will see their king dead at my feet." Dalinar thinks,
yeah, the giant lobster is like, "I can't understand you. You're just making little squeaky noises."
"I have no idea what the hell you're talking about, but you're special, little kid." You
Give
reach
me the
down,
map, Scott.
touch your brother hot.
My wife has never seen that film, but I quoted that the other day. She is a big Tracy Morgan fan, however, so she's like, "Well." So when I showed her the clip, she's like, "That was pretty good. I kind of thought that was Tracy Morgan when you were doing it." I was like, "Oh, good."
Yeah. I mean, it's got a Tracy Morgan cadence to it. Yeah. I don't know that she'd enjoy that movie at all, but
Certainly not.
Yeah.
Nor should anyone. It hasn't aged well.
That's fair. Dalinar thinks damnation's own fool, as Elhokar was confronting the thing before his sword even came back, and his armor is like cracked and leaking stormlight. And Elhokar reaches up and slams his newly resummoned sword right into the monster's chest, trying to hit its heart. The beast roars and knocks him free. And in the process, its tail whips around and bashes into Dalinar and Gallant. And Dalinar flies off his horse, loses his blade also. And I like that Gallant kind of stumbles a bit. And then Dalinar says, "Away." The command word would send the horse to safety. Unlike Elhokar, it would obey.
Yeah, my horse does what I tell it to do.
Yep. And so he's summoned his shard blade again, but 10 heartbeats is an eternity in the middle of a battle. And the archers are still firing, but the Chasm Fiend is ignoring even Sadeas's giant arrows at this point. Adolin gets another leg, 8 down out of 14. And here comes Renarin, dressed in his Kholin uniform. "Father, are you well? Can I help?" And he's like, "Fool boy, go! You're unarmored and unarmed. Go back before you get yourself killed." Which probably does not make Renarin feel good, but is the right thing to do at this moment. Adolin goes to help the king and gets smacked by a giant claw. Shard plate snapped as the claw tossed him into the air. And while he is worried,
no one died.
While he is worried about his son, Elhokar is now facing the beast alone. He can't leave his nephew there. And the beast knocks him down. His sword disappears, and he's about to smash the king. And Dalinar's thinking, I was drunk, passed out while my brother fought for his life. I failed him. I cannot fail the 2 pieces of my brother that I have left, his kingdom and his son. Which I feel is a little unfair because dude also has a daughter out there, but whatever. And then we cut to Adolin's perspective as he's kind of fuzzy after taking that hit and flying through the air. But he does see the Chasm Fiend about to like crush the king basically. And then there's Dalinar moving with a speed and grace no man, not even one wearing shard plate, should be able to manage. He leaps over some rocks, he runs in, and he just like catches the claw.
So fucking cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So he goes down to one knee, but he catches it. He's holding it up, and everyone, Adolin, is just like, holy shit. It's like the archers are all shocked. Even Sadeas is like, what the hell did I just see? And Adolin thinks, in this moment, I'm seeing him, the Black Thorn, the very man that he'd been wishing to fight alongside. And then Adolin's like, oh, I should probably help, right? Yeah, okay. With so many of its legs gone and all the pressure it was trying to put down to crush Dalinar, it snaps the remaining legs on the right side, and the beast falls over. And that's when Elhokar gets up and notices the monster has fallen down, and he's like, oh, okay. And so he goes up and gets his blade and shoves it into the Chasm Fiend's chest. I guess he shoves it into the monster's neck first, because that kills it. Its eyes blacken as you move the blade through its spine or whatever it has. It's the equivalent of that. And then he starts cutting into the chest. Now that it's dead, the blade can cut it. And he reaches in and he pulls out an enormous gem heart. The gemstone that grew within all Chasm Fiends. It was lumpy and uncut, but it was a pure emerald as big as a man's head. The largest gem heart Adolin had ever seen, and even the small ones were worth a fortune. And then everyone cheers and is happy, and that's the end of our chapters. So yeah, I like what somebody said. It's nice to have just like a full sort of scene. We get the intro, we get the run up, we get the battle, and we get the end of it. And so this was a good 2 chapters to read, I think. You guys, where are we going from here? I mean, I don't know how much information we have for you to base that on. But we know that this part of the book is going to be Adolin, Dalinar, and Kaladin chapters. So what's coming next? Predicaments. That's, in case you were wondering, that's where we are.
Okay, so short term, Kaladin will have seen all this go down from a distance, I guess. And I guess it'll just give him appreciation for what's actually out in the Shattered Plains and understand what they're fighting for, what are in these mounds that they keep going for. So, and I think maybe he'll try and convince, he's trying to get the loyalty of his bridge crew, and maybe he's going to like try and build themselves up so they can get some acclaim by being a bridge crew who gains a gem heart like of their own. I don't know. Maybe he wants to try and get some cred so that the bridge crews don't keep dying needlessly. So if he can show they're useful for more than just arrow fodder and carrying shit, maybe that'll go down. So that's short term. Long term, I don't think Dalinar's making it out of this book alive. Poor guy's, he's desperate to protect a king who keeps throwing himself into dangerous situations, and he's having these flashbacks and visions and whatever. Like the thing that Seth wrote when Gavilar died has clearly done a number on him. So I think he's dealing with some heavy trauma stuff. I think Dalinar is not surviving the end of this book. So we'll see how that goes. And for just for funsies, I imagine that, all right, now we've seen a chasm fiend. They might be a bit forgotten about for the bulk of the book, and then like in the climax, you'll have two sides fighting a battle, and all of a sudden they realize they're straight into a chasm fiend nest or a den or whatever it was called, and then all of a sudden that just wreaks chaos on whatever climactic fight is going on. That's just likelihood probably slim, but fuck, that'd be cool.
That could definitely turn the tide of a battle if a chasm fiend shows up randomly in the middle.
Oh, maybe Kaladin could ride one.
Like we were talking about riding into battle on a Chull. Imagine riding into battle on a chasm fiend.
Fuck yeah.
A chasm fiend is just as exclusive as that type of horse.
Oh, the right.
Chooses the rider.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a whole new level of Cravatti.
Yeah, it's true. It'd be like dude, he's gonna ride the worm.
Wormy worm wazzle.
I have ridden
Well, that's
the mighty
not
moonworm.
that's not the Dune, but sure. Women wham wazzle.
Yeah, but it reminded me of I've ridden the mighty moonworm, so that's why.
Yeah.
And then the planet Wormulon, and there's worms all
It's a whole
throughout
thing.
Futurama.
Worms, sure.
There's,
I mean, Slurm Cola is made in a colossal worm, Heine. Heine, you say? Why, with your testimony, we'll outlaw this insidious slurm. Outlaw slurm?
What's the line? Yippee-ki-yay, you'll never guess where I've been.
Jesus Christ. No, we said
That's a
slurm, not sperm.
Yeah.
Okay,
You'll never
good.
guess where
Slow
I've
on that note.
been.
Good solid predictions, Dak. What do you got, Gene?
Yeah.
Yeah, not really a huge amount. Like I said before, it's kind of like starting a book again.
Mhm.
Hang on, someone needs help.
You're fine.
There you go. Help has arrived. Cool. How about that? Yep. Yeah, so it does feel a little bit like starting a new book. I think we've found now, coming into part 2, our characters seem to be in the one area. So I'm predicting in this part at least we should end up with Kaladin, maybe making some way with Bridge 4. Personally, I hope that Gaz is maybe destroyed by a chasm fiend. I think that would probably be an honourable death for him. If Kaladin finds his way to the army, I know he was sort of thinking about this is, it's not natural the way all these things are. So we've learned a little bit more about the Shattered Plains, I guess, in these chapters. So yeah, I'm basically, long story short, hoping these characters will find their way to each other. Maybe Kaladin will earn himself a place in the army with these newfound characters that we like. Yeah, I don't really have much more than that. There's not really a lot to go on here.
Yeah, no, I get
Yeah.
you. And I think it's a very logical possibility that you brought up where it's like, we want Kaladin to move up, but also like Sadeas and his army suck. But we kind of like Dalinar already, so maybe he can, meet Dalinar and they can be friends or something. And, if he's going to move up, something like that would be nice. I agree.
Yeah, like he seems reasonable, and maybe if he's really good at what he does and Dalinar's trying to protect the king, and unite different areas, Kaladin could be a good person to have around.
Yeah. No, it's a good thought. I agree.
Yeah. Kaladin, I don't know what he's doing now. I assume he's doing what I predicted last, which is getting his bridge crew together, making them a cohesive unit. If he's in Sadeas' army, I doubt he is in a position to have seen what just occurred. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. But it sounds like maybe Sidious is doing things in a completely different location of the Shattered Plains. We also don't know how big the Shattered Plains are. I guess I could look on the map, but I don't really look at maps. And so, yeah, I don't know if the next section is going to be Kaladin or not. But I'm just going to make predictions based solely on what we've read this time. Dalinar Kholon's going to try to convince the king to leave the Shattered Plains. I don't think it's going to go well for him. I think that he may be facing a little bit of what's the word? A little bit of isolation. Like maybe the king will start to distance himself from his uncle, which will be bad news for Elhokar or whatever his name is. But we'll see. That would be my predicament going forward. That kind of separation's not gonna, or that kind of suggestion's not gonna go over well.
Yeah, from what Adolin says, it doesn't seem like it would, right?
No, Adolin's like, no, that's like what we're doing here is like a part of who we are. Which, to be fair, we don't know how long that this kind of gem heart gathering has been going on, but potentially Elhokar's dad was the one who was trying to unite the kingdoms before. So if that's the case, it can't have been going on for a super long time that the Parshendi and them have been at odds. I don't know how many years ago Gavilar died. I'm sure it's said, but I didn't read it.
6 at this point, I believe.
6 years?
Because it was 5 years when we first met Kaladin, and then months passed after that.
Okay. So really, yeah, 5 years. I mean, 5 years is long for a war, or 5 or 6 years is long for a war, but it's, in the grand scheme of like, this is our culture, this is what we do, it's not that long. So for his son to say that would make me think that, this is something they've been doing even without warring against the Parshendi. They've all been chasing after these gem hearts for a really long time. So if that's the case, yeah, it may not be something that the king is willing to even listen to, because it's not something his dad was even doing. But I guess it really just depends on if his uncle can sell it without mentioning these weird visions or whatever. So, yeah, I don't know.
I like that you mentioned the map, because I forgot about that. At the very beginning of part 2, there is a map of a section of the Shattered Plains, and you can see the 10 war camps at the top end of the map. And so it gives you some idea of at least a piece of the scale. And it seems like the Shattered Plains is fairly large from what you could tell. But yeah, it's I think that you also have some reasonable presumptions there, where it's like Dalinar's looking for a way to say this to the king, and it doesn't seem like if he does, it will go over well. So that is a good possibility that you brought out about how it might go down if he tried it. And who knows how any of the others will react. There's 10 high princes out here, so how much power any of them have individually, and how any of them would react to this kind of thought. Even if you can convince the king somehow, this chapter tells us that like each of the high princes is basically their own little king, and they only, Dalinar even I think puts it like they just pay lip service to Elhokar. So who knows if even convincing the king would effectively change the course of things. Let's see. I guess we'll do emails next. We have a bunch of emails, and some of them are fairly long. I think we'll probably do maybe half of them here. So this one is from Where's Hoyd is the name given at the end here. Hello, Data, Jamie, Dak, and Joe. Congrats in reaching my favorite book of all time. Your journey through the Cosmere has been so cool, with wild theories and insightful commentary. After having all Brandon's books under my belt, including the secret projects, I may have followed your journey from the start. I have followed your journey from the start and have enjoyed every bit. Keep up the good work, and wasing to the time of next, Colo, P.S. Fasher.
Hey, thanks, man.
Yeah. And
yeah,
they all,
nice email. That was more like a review almost.
Well, they sent a screenshot of their 5-star Spotify review is what I was going to say. So.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. Well, what a nice review. I wasn't prepared for this because they didn't tell me, but for you, my friend, you could be a lurcher.
Nice. Let's see. Okay. Next email is from, this one is signed Kirby Hunter. Sanderlanche Appreciation Email is the title. Hey, Sanderlanche crew, longtime listener and Discord lurker here. I wanted to say thank you for all the fun over the years and the work you put into the podcast. For the next 2 weeks, although this email was from almost 2 weeks ago at this point. So for the next 2 weeks, I'll be on holiday in Australia from Michigan, spending time in Sydney, Canberra, Melbourne, and Cairns. Is that how you say those?
Cairns.
Cairns.
The last one.
Okay.
And
I thought when
Good
I said
job.
that one, I'm like, I bet I did that wrong.
Everyone struggles with that one.
After planning this trip, I've realized how difficult the time difference must make co-hosting the podcast from across the world. Your effort is appreciated, and I can't wait to hear some more volcano theories as you read through Stormlight. P.S. Thank you, Dak and Jamie, for subconsciously teaching me Aussie slang. It's finally going to be useful. Cheers. So, nice.
Our
Thanks. I hope you enjoyed your trip.
Also, really impressed that you came to Canberra. Most people don't know where that is, so
Most people ignore it. Yeah.
most people ignore it. We're only the capital of Australia, but people usually don't come here. Sydney and Melbourne are way more interesting.
Yeah, we've got a lot of states that have capitals that are like that. Like Nevada, for example. Like people go to Las Vegas. I don't know a lot of people that go to Carson City.
Carson City's the capital?
Yes, it is.
You know, I
Say-
only know it exists because of some weird Jackie Chan movie where he teams up with Owen Wilson.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then
Shanghai noon.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then New York State, the capital is Albany, not New York City.
Yep.
What are others?
Florida,
Yeah.
Florida and Tallahassee.
Yep,
mean,
not Miami or Orlando. Yeah.
The New York thing is weird, but also like at least New York City is in New York State as opposed to Washington.
That's a fair point. Yep.
That's a good point.
Washington, also with Olympia. Not many people.
Yeah, not many people know about that. They think Seattle, but it's Olympia.
Never even heard of Olympia. There you go.
Right,
and then
yeah.
California, the capital Sacramento,
yeah.
not Los Angeles or San
New
Diego or
Jersey.
anything
Most
like
people don't know any cities in New Jersey at all, let alone
that.
Trenton.
Yeah, let alone the capital of Trenton.
So, yeah, fun stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be. It's just a couple months to my Australia trip. I'm excited.
God, that is soon, isn't it?
Yay.
Gonna meet up with Dak and Jamie for a day, hopefully, assuming flight doesn't get pushed around or anything. You never know with those.
Yeah.
But,
You guys should record something too.
maybe I'm not planning on taking a
Yeah.
laptop or anything because I like to pack light for these kind of things. So I don't know.
Right. Oh, having just mentioned all that, if there was any doubt about it, I know we've mentioned it on the show before, but Data and I will not be at the Dragonsteel convention this year.
Nope.
This will be the last episode that goes out before that convention starts, and we will not be in attendance.
Is it the last? Hold on. When will this episode go up?
This
Okay, it's
episode will go up next Monday, and then it'll be the week after that, won't it?
It'll be the week after that. So I guess the next one after that will go up when the convention starts on the Monday. Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, we will not be there. So unfortunately, you will not see us. Do not come looking for us. You will not find us.
I'm hoping for next year,
Yeah.
for the Stormlight release that I will be able to go. Maybe not, Joe, since we'll be in the middle of Stormlight and there's huge potential spoilers floating around. But I'm having this big trip this year, so I just can't afford to go a couple months before that.
Yeah. And maybe I'll go anyway. I don't care.
Okay. Next email is from Matt. Hey crew, I sent an email a few days ago, and now I'm caught up once more. An upside to ADHD hyperfixation. I go through podcasts very quickly. Really interested in seeing your thoughts on The Way of Kings. I'm glad you guys are enjoying Shalon. She's a favorite of mine. I really like the inclusion of the word of Brandon of the day, and even though I'm not a patron, I thought it would be cool if you let patrons vote on it. I mean, yeah, that's possibly a thing that if I hadn't been forgetting every single time to do it, maybe I'll remember now that he's reminded me. I'm wondering what all of your thoughts are on the planet Roshar so far. It's such a fascinating setting. I once heard it described as an underwater world on the surface. Plants that move on their own, weird bug crab things.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. Also,
The world itself is quite baffling. I like it, but it's baffling.
it's so different. There's kaiju crabs and crab dogs and moving grass. Yeah.
I think it's the spren everywhere. Like I see it being a lot of like flickering lights, and in my head is a lot of bright colors. Maybe not so much on the Shattered Plains, but like just kind of a bit topsy-turvy. And the description of all the people when they come in and they're different colors or different color hair or something like that. I'm just like, my brain pictures it as quite a colorful place. I like it. It's pretty.
I hadn't thought about it like that before, but yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I mean, even saying like underwater world would also be very pretty, right? Like the colors and stuff. Anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, his other question is, what do you guys think that the shard or shards of Roshar is/are?
I've mentioned before, I think like there must be like an abstraction shard, just because this again the Spren are just bizarre to me. I'm like, all right, it's got to be someone else who's just on a different wavelength than the rest of them.
Yeah, no, yeah, with the one that loves crabs, we established that too.
Yeah, I've posited before. I think like the enemy that the 10 heralds were fighting in the prelude was another evil shard. So maybe abstraction was up against someone, but I don't quite know who that the other angry one would be.
Who would hate abstraction? Law and Order shard.
So preservation's back.
Anybody else
I
have
like
any
Jack's
thoughts?
idea.
Yeah.
I thought like inspiration or something. Like all the
Well,
the
that's a
Spren
good one.
kind of like drawn to whatever's sort of happening at the time. I don't know. That's kind of what I thought, especially with still for Kaladin kind of inspiring him to go.
Okay, makes sense to me. Joe?
I don't know. Maybe like there's a lot of like importance on like reputations. Maybe like valor or something. I don't know.
Valor would be a cool name for a shard. It makes me think of Kingdom Hearts in Valor form, but
yeah, I don't know. But yeah, with how alive the planet is, there's got to be something else involved. It can't just be like one thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that was Matt. Thank you, Matt. And I think we'll do one more, which will be just over half of what we had. This one, the title is "What's Cookin' in the Lanche of Sander," and it's signed B at the end, just the letter B. So, what's good, y'all? Couple things I wanted to throw at you. First off, hypothetically, what if you did an episode where Data let everyone get extremely in capital letters high, and then throw out the wildest predictions they could think of? Only slightly joking.
You know, I say winners don't do drugs. That's what I say. If you get that Futurama reference, you're a good person.
Winners don't use drugs. Yeah, okay. I'm a good person. He goes on to say, I'm imagining a completely zooted smoke sesh episode where they predict Kaladin turning out to be Kelsier's grandson, who has exploding volcano powers and will blow up Roshar, only he's going head-to-head against Susebron, who has discovered the art of Kung Fu from Harmony. Kaladin will unleash a huge eruption so powerful it frees Kelsier from the cognitive realm, and as a grandfather-grandson duo, they go up against Susebron, who backflips all over the place, saying things like, "Let's Scooby-Doo this shit," as he fights.
Yeah, what does zoot mean?
Like,
I don't know.
Jack, you can't email the show with your crazy theories.
Yeah.
Masquerading as someone else.
Whoa.
I feel like you could come up with that on your own, completely sober.
Yeah, I mean, you don't gotta be high to figure that out.
You guys produce Possum Hunters. Like,
That's true.
your
Yeah,
brains go anywhere. I don't think you need to be high for this level of prediction.
I was stone cold sober for Possum Hunters. That's true.
Yeah.
I love that Jamie says that, because the next bit says, as the genius he is, Dak predicts that Alrian will suddenly descend out of the sky and reveal that Susebron is actually Kelsier's son and Kaladin's father. They decide the power of family is stronger than the power of causing volcanic eruptions and hug it out.
Wow. This
Family
reminds
tree
me
on
of
this is getting fucking baffling.
yeah. This reminds me of that episode of Parks and Rec where Patton Oswalt is guest star, and this was before
the
like
Star Wars thing.
Yeah, this was before the new Star Wars movies came out, and he like basically went on a tangent about what his prediction for the new Star Wars was going to be like. It's the full clip's available on YouTube.
It's a ridiculous, yeah. If you watch the whole clip where they just let him keep going.
Yeah, because they cut out a lot of it for the episode, but like he just went on a riff while they put it on camera, and then they just chopped it up for the episode. But it's pretty amazing.
It continues. Joe will smoke an extra eighth and predict Yedden faked his death and will be returning as a villain, backed by the armies of red and gold. This is probably with a movie adaptation without Sanderson at the helm. This is probably what a movie adaptation without Sanderson at the helm will end up being like.
Well, joke's on you. I don't even remember who Yedden is.
Yedden, the guy who quote unquote hired Kelsier to build him an army and then got the army killed.
Oh, he was that idiot who got his entire army killed.
Yeah.
Right?
Hey man, that was like 8 books ago. What am I? You want me to remember that guy who was only in half a book?
To be honest with you, B out there, I don't smoke anything. I prefer to keep all smoke out of my lungs. I don't think that the two mix well. So
Yeah.
I'm
Look,
not suited to answer this question.
I already said it, man. Winners don't use drugs.
I smoked a joint exactly once in my life and spent the rest of the night vomiting in the toilet. Since then, I haven't touched it.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Next day, I had to clean that toilet. That sucked.
It's like vomiting and vomiting in that men's room.
Well, if you had to clean it, it probably wasn't some random men's room.
That was a
No,
quote from something.
Oh, okay.
That was my friend's house.
Well, given other stories I've heard about Dak getting drunk and vomiting places, that's
like his thing, right?
yeah.
Not
totally.
anymore.
Once upon a time, he has a kid now.
Yeah, he grew up.
In your 30s, you're less tolerant of that stuff.
That's very true.
Yeah, it's like you used to be able to just bounce back quite easily after that. Now, like even if I drink quite a lot and I don't wind up vomiting, I still pay for it in hell the next day. So
Yeah, I usually I'll drink some whiskey now and again, but I don't imbibe heavily any longer.
yeah, yep. My body can't bring me back from the grave like it used to.
I don't actually like the taste of alcohol, so I don't partake there either. Generally,
Yep.
The email continues. I personally think Warbreaker would translate the best into a live action movie because it would need minimal CGI, and most of the magic can be shown through color grading and sound. Pause to say I'm not sure about that. Like there's some awakening things. I think we need some CGI.
Yep.
Weirdly, I can see it having the same vibe as Blade Runner 2049. Super colorful with its gritty undertone. That I could kind of see.
I guess Blade
Yeah.
Runner 2049 has the advantage of being set in like a futuristic world where that kind of grittiness mixed with color makes sense. I feel like there were grimy parts to Warbreaker, but on the whole, with it being fantasy, it would have to be like much brighter. I think the reason Blade Runner works for me is because you have all these bright, like phony light, colorful lights.
I mean, it's like a cyberpunk thing. It's
right
supposed
against
to
the
be.
backdrop
neon
of
shit.
against the backdrop of like a dark, awful world. Whereas
Dark and
Warbreaker, right? Whereas Warbreaker's like a jungle, like a tropical jungle.
So maybe also rainy, actually.
Yeah, I mean rainy, sure, but like in a completely different way.
I don't actually recall it ever raining in Warbreaker.
I don't recall them mentioning it offhand. I feel like it must have.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, everything grew really well, so who knows?
Mm.
They say Sixth of the Dusk is a contender as well. I could see that being a very artsy film with a lot of
Oh, that
action and dark overtones.
I would love that movie.
Yeah,
I mean,
Six of the Dusk would be good, and you
feel
could
like
even do
straight
it
up
like as
work.
a
Yeah.
or but you could even do it like as a short film because
Yeah.
it's not
short
that
story.
long. Yeah.
I'm imagining like Predator, honestly.
Mm.
Although I don't think Arnold should be Sixth of the Dusk. But
Yeah.
on the topic of Warbreaker, I think it gets overlooked a lot as homework of sorts for the Cosmere, which in my opinion is an oversight on everyone's part. It's far from perfect, but it still has some interesting characters, themes, and setting. As far as Mistborn Era 2, it's interesting the series is called Wax and Wayne, where in the beginning Wax is the hero, but Wayne is the hero at the end. Probably a coincidence, but still a cool detail. I like Era 1 more story-wise. The way all the pieces you don't really understand leave you hanging and then suddenly fall into place is amazing, but Era 2 has arguably more relatable characters. Vin is a work of art, and Sazed has one of the best arcs out of any Sanderson book, but I relate to Wax and Wayne more on a personal level. They feel like actual people in a sense. I think that's a product of having the conflict be Wax and Wayne against people they have a relationship with versus Vin and Kelsey are against literal gods. Yeah, I think we kind of agreed with that.
Yeah. Plus, like, Era 2 is much closer to our real world setting. So it's like they've got problems that are more akin to what, a regular person today will have.
So
Like we don't exactly have to worry about, slave owning emperors trying to, stick us with spears.
You don't have that?
Yeah.
No, I
Australia?
can't say that I do.
No.
Is that common in
No.
Texas?
No. Not really. I mean,
The blood
You could-
fountains, though, all the time.
sure, we got those. That's true. Big one in Austin, but
I haven't seen it in the tourism guides.
oh, you won't. You won't.
It's a surprise when you get there.
Yeah, it's like, and here's our blood fountain. Wait, what?
They wrap up saying, my biggest gripe with this podcast is it's only weekly. I listen while at work, so I stopped listening for 4 to 5 months and then get caught up in a week and have to wait again. 2 uploads a week would be awesome, but I recognize it's not really possible with working and adulting. I've tried listening to other Sanderson podcasts, and I just can't get into them because the hosts annoy me, the pacing is weird, or they just don't have the same charisma as y'all do. Until the time of next, that's what's up, B. So.
Oh, well, that was sweet, man. Appreciate that.
Thanks for calling us charismatic. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's like the opposite of what everybody else calls me.
So, okay, those are our emails. I'm going to save the last 3 for next time. Thank you, everyone who sent emails. Those were fun. If anyone wants to send us an email, the address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter and Instagram and Patreon, where I have finally finished my reading of The Sunlit Man. It'll be a couple weeks at least before they finish posting on Patreon. So if you're interested in hearing my initial reactions to that, go and check it out. Spoiler, for my reaction, not for the actual book. I was kind of mixed throughout some of the book, but by the end of it, I was getting into it. So by the end, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Interesting.
It's got kind of I said that Tress had like a Princess Bride feel. This one, if anything, has maybe a Mad Max feel.
Oh,
so
wow.
Take that for what it's worth.
Interesting.
Which Mad Max? Because Mad Max 1 is a very different feel to, say, Fury Road.
Well, yeah, that's true. I actually haven't seen Fury Road. I was thinking conceptually, maybe not specifically, because you're right that the original Mad Max and Thunderdome are also have a kind of different feel.
Yeah, and Road Warrior.
Yeah.
In fact, they're all fairly unique, but the first
you're
one
not
is
wrong,
definitely first one is definitely way different from the others.
I think probably, even though I haven't seen it, given what I know of it, I think maybe Fury Road would be the closest.
Interesting.
Anybody else who's read The Sunlit Man? If you disagree with which Mad Max movie is the closest, feel free to let us know in the comments. Since it came up, let's do a quick Sanderson, a word of Brandon of the week. I think I have one more queued up and ready to go. And this is another one which I don't know how much y'all are going to be able to get out of it, but I found it interesting. So what this person says is, can a copper mind, you guys remember copper mines? Those are where ferrochemists store knowledge. Can a copper mine be awakened? And Brandon says, this is possible. And the guy says, with the memories already in it? So it seems to be asking, like, could you awaken it? And then the awakened entity would have the memories that were stored in the copper mind.
Oh, wow.
And Brandon says, okay, that's going to be harder because those memories are keyed to someone else who by nature would not be the individual that the copper mind was made into. You would have to key those memories to who the metal mind was becoming. There'd be an extra step in there. It wouldn't just naturally be that way. We're talking wild. These are possible but far out stuff. So yeah, that's that one.
Yeah, it is weird.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you could do that, like somebody stores their memories and then you awaken it and make those memories, it's like you could, what Dak theorized, where like someone's like Nightblood had a person's personality somehow in it, like that would be essentially what it was. It would be like,
yeah,
almost rebirthing this person as an object.
Weird. That's like, whenever Brandon's response, like it makes me think of the person asking it. It's like Dumb and Dumber moment. He's like, so you're saying there's a chance?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. No, I just like that one because it's weird and fun. So for next time, we're going to read 2 more chapters. That'll be chapters 14 and 15. Continuing, I think part 2 of this book, let's see, part 1 was like 5 episodes. Part 2 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 8 episodes. The 8th episode moves into the interludes, but so it'll be a little longer than part 1 was essentially. But yeah, 2 more chapters for next time, chapters 14 and 15. If you're following along, read those. Thank you, everyone who's listening, everyone who sent emails, our patrons. You guys are all awesome. Music by Miracle of Sound. 2 chapters for next time. And Wuzzing to the time of next. Colo, P.S. Fasher. Crab at thee.
Ghost of the fallen, the wind is ever guide, and vengeance is calling, a spectre in the night. Ghost of the fallen, golden wings are gliding, feet in the soul, so the world can return to life.
Okay, Jamie, the people in Interlude 1, the 3 mysterious guys, Grump and Blunt and Thinker. What did you think? Did you recognize them?
Yeah, look, prepare to be disappointed. No. I wasn't quite sure, and I think so. I had a few problems in reading it, and I was struggling with so many new words and places and things, and my headspace was not quite in it. But I didn't realize that there were three strangers. I thought that our friend who was like narrating it was one of the people. So I've been realigned on that. But I was trying to think about the physical descriptions they gave, and I assume we've got people kind of from different areas coming together. It doesn't sound like a group of people that we've already seen. So I was thinking about who we've seen world hopping already before.
Mm-hmm.
I thought one of them might have been from Elantris. So I was thinking that maybe Galadon could be one of them, but physically I'm not sure if he fits those descriptions or not.
Okay.
But Galadon, I thought maybe someone from White Sand could have been in there, like the scar on their head. I was like, they did some scarring, but I couldn't remember who might have been, who'd want to look for Hoy. Like they definitely had researchers, but I didn't think Kenton like fit the description necessarily, but he could have been like the non oh God, what's he called? Like he was dark skinned but not quite as dark as the others, and he was like a Lethy, like he's already spoken different languages. So I think my second vote is Kenton, maybe. And the third one, don't ask me which one's which at this point, because I'm just plucking names out of anywhere really. Maybe someone from Mistborn. I don't know. Maybe we've got a terrace person, or maybe is it Naz who does all the maps and stuff? Pretty
Naz,
traveled. Yeah. There you go. I'm going to go with they're my three. I've got no idea.
That was surprisingly close, considering.
Oh.
You did get one right, because our friend in the story, his name was Grump, and he does most of the talking. He's what stands out is that he ends sentences with saying "understand," which, if you look at it as if he was speaking his own language, it
perhaps could be Colo.
Yeah, exactly. So that was Galadon. Good call. You got that one.
Cool.
And then the second one was from White Sand. It wasn't Thinker is the one who wasn't as dark skinned as the other two, but who was still kind of tan, and that's not the one from White Sand. The other dark skinned guy is one of the like couple of dark skinned people that were major characters in White Sand, and it was Bayon.
Okay. He just didn't, because Bayon was quite muscular, wasn't he? Is he the tall one? No.
Yeah. He's the tall one in this story.
He's the tall one.
Yeah.
Okay. Wasn't Galadon tall?
That's what I think Joe or Dak won.
Yeah,
wasn't
I
Galadon pretty tall? I'm gonna have to go back now and look at the description when we meet Galadon for the first time, because I don't actually remember.
Yeah.
I get the feeling from this
I think
that
maybe
he's kind of
he's
short.
taller than Raoden.
Yeah,
He's
that
just
might
taller
be.
than Raoden.
That
And
might
maybe
be
Raoden's
Okay.
just kind of short.
Although no, Raoden's pretty tall, because Serene, it goes on in that book about how tall she is and how men are never tall enough, and then like Raoden's actually taller
true.
than her, and she's
Yeah.
like, oh, this guy's tall enough for me. Oh my gosh. Let me see. When we meet him, it takes a while before we even learn his name.
Maybe everybody in Roshar is just freakishly tall, and so is Bayon.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
It says that he's tall and firm-framed with wide hands and keen eyes. So he's also tall. I guess maybe just Bayon is taller.
I guess
It's all about perspective.
Right.
It's saying Galadon is tall. It's not necessarily saying that he's taller, just that he is tall.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all right.
And then the final person was, in fact, from Mistborn. And the only real clue we get there, as I pointed out to them last week, is that he has the scar on his scalp, which at the beginning of Hero of Ages, when we meet up with him again, we find out that, like, in the interval, this guy has become a general and has gotten wounded in some battle, and he has a scar, and that is Damon.
Cool. Okay, that's an interesting set of people.
Yeah, to be randomly here looking for Hoyd, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, my only other guess, which is probably because I misunderstood the assignment to begin with, is it Ishik, the fisherman?
Yeah.
I reckon that's Hoyd.
That would be hilarious if they were looking
Yeah.
for Hoyd and they hired this guy to find Hoyd, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't know what to
Yeah.
tell you. I have no idea where he is."
Yeah. So I was like, yep, fools. I was like, ah.
That would be
Well,
the best twist ever. Yep.
Well, I guess
Yeah.
depending on if they have if they're only being ordered to by let's assume Kelsier is in charge of these guys and he's ordered them to track Hoyd down, he might have only given them like a description or something, so they could be looking right at him and not realize it.
Could be. You're not wrong. And that was another thing that came up last week is that Dak was theorizing that because Damu was such a loyal follower of Kelsier, that maybe these guys are here on orders from Kelsier and he part of his crew that we see in Era 2.
Yeah, it would make sense. Cool. Okay, so I was off, but I was not like completely off.
No, you were
Friday,
pretty
yeah.
close. Yeah.
Not bad. Okay.
I mean,
I'll
you
take
correctly
one.
picked all the planets at least.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.